In this video, we're going to go over how to join two pieces of garter stitch fabric when they're side by side. Now, garter stitch is when you have these ridges on both the right sides and the wrong sides of your work. Now, to start, I'm just going to use my yarn tail right here, and if you know that you're going to need to be seaming ahead of time, if you just leave a decent sized tail, you can use that and not have to join in more yarn to seam your piece up, and then you have less ends to weave in too. So we're going to start by going through the very last bump all the way at the edge of your fabric on the piece that you want to join. So I'm going to go up through the very bottom edge bump, and then I'm going to go over to my next piece, and you can see my yarn tail came out here. I'm going to go up one row here. I'm going to follow this row all the way across, and you're going to notice that there's sets of bumps that face up, like this one, an upside down U, and then you're also going to notice sets of bumps that face down, and they're kind of a U shape like these here. We're going to want to go through the top ones, the ones that are an upside down U shape. So I'm going to go all the way to the end of the row and go through the very last upside down U shaped bump. So I'm going to go through there, and I'm just going to leave these kind of loose for now so you can see and follow the path of where we're going. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I came out of this ridge, I'm going to go up one ridge, follow it all the way to the end, and go through the very last bump. So you're just going to kind of work back and forth between your pieces, going from one side to the next. So it's almost kind of like you're lacing up your fabric. And every inch or two, after I do a couple rows back and forth of this, I like to just kind of pull on my tail, or whatever I'm using to weave the ends in or seam everything up. I'm going to pull on it to bring everything together. Now you want to be careful that you don't tug on this too hard, otherwise you can see it's just starting to cinch a little bit. So you want to kind of pull on it in both directions, just so that way as you're seaming, you're retaining the natural stretch of your garter stitch fabric. So I'm going to continue going through all of my edge stitches, and I'm going to leave these loose so I can tell exactly where my last ridge was. So you can see here, I follow my yarn tail. It leads to this stitch here, which is in this ridge. I'm going to jump up a ridge, go all the way across, and then simply go up through the very last ridge on the edge, and it should be a little upside down U shaped bump. Same thing on this side. If I follow my yarn, you can see I came out of this stitch here. So that's in this ridge. I'm going to go up a ridge, follow it all the way to the end, go through my very last bump. So I'm just going to keep doing this all the way up. Now you might need to seam things in garter, if you're working in garter stitch, say if you're making several squares that need to be seamed together to join, to make a bigger afghan. If you're working on a pillowcase that's in pieces, if you're working together sides of a sweater in garter stitch. In all of these cases, you might need to side by side seam your garter stitch, and that works really well for all those cases. So now you can see here I've done about an inch, inch and a half, so I'm just going to tug on my yarn tail again to kind of bring everything together and kind of just make sure that I'm not too tight. and then you would just continue again going through this. And this goes pretty fast too. It doesn't take too much practice, and it looks really neat and finished, and just a really clean way of joining your pieces together. And you can see that it's a pretty seamless fabric. It would be really hard to tell that, you know, you join these pieces together. And so this is what it looks like on the back side. You can see that there is a little bit of a ridge or a little bump that's a little bit more noticeable on the wrong side. But on the right side, it looks pretty seamless. So that's how you join two garter stitch fabrics together side by side.